Yuna had worked in the Galactic Archives for 7 years. Every day, she walked through halls filled with the history of 1,000 species. She cataloged records of wars and peace treaties, of empires that rose and fell, of worlds that lived and died. But there was one section she was never allowed to enter. The sealed vault sat at the deepest level of the archives. Its doors had not opened in 3,000 years. The official records said it contained corrupted data, files too damaged to recover. But Yuna had noticed something strange. The vault's power system still ran perfectly. Why would anyone power a room full of broken files? She asked Elder Borum about it once. He was her mentor, a Caliph like herself, with gray skin that showed his great age. He had looked at her with eyes that seemed tired and sad. "Some questions are better left unasked," he said. "Focus on your work, Yuna. The past is not always kind to those who dig too deep." But Yuna could not forget. She thought about the vault every day. And then, one quiet night, she found something that changed everything. She was organizing old storage units in a forgotten corner of the archives. Most contained nothing important. But one unit was different. It was hidden behind others, pushed into a dark corner where no one would look. When Yuna opened it, she found a data core unlike any she had seen before. It was small and made of strange metal. Symbols covered its surface, symbols she did not recognize from any known species. Her hands trembled as she connected it to her reading device. The screen flickered. Then images appeared. Yuna saw creatures she had never seen before. They stood on 2 legs like her own species, but their skin was smooth and came in many colors. Some were pale, some were dark, some were somewhere between. They had hair on their heads in black and brown and many other shades. Their eyes were small but bright with emotion. They were doing ordinary things. In one recording, they sat together and ate food, laughing at something she could not hear. In another, a larger one held a smaller one in its arms, rocking it gently while it cried. In another, 2 of them stood close together, their faces touching in what seemed like deep affection. Yuna felt her heart beating fast. She knew what these creatures were. Every child in the galaxy knew the stories humans, but humans were not real. They were myths, legends, stories told to frighten children. The Tailies said humans were monsters from a death world. They could survive wounds that killed other species. They bonded with predators and called them pets. They ate poison plants for pleasure. They needed to close their eyes and lose consciousness every single day, yet somehow survived this vulnerability. They could chase prey for days without stopping. Their bodies healed themselves. Some stories said humans were gods. Others said they were demons. All stories agreed on one thing: humans were not real. They were just myths from ancient times, exaggerated tales that had no truth behind them. But here they were, moving, breathing, living. And they looked so ordinary. "What are you doing?" Yuna spun around. Elder Borum stood behind her, and his face had gone very pale. He looked at the data core in her hands, then at the screen showing the human recordings. "I found it," Yuna said. "I was just organizing the storage units, and I found it." "Elder Borum, are these real? Are these actual recordings of humans?" The old Caliph was silent for a long moment. Then he walked to her slowly and sat down on a nearby container. He suddenly looked very old. "Yes," he said. "They are real. But humans are myths. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows what they are told." Borum looked at the screen, where a human was now playing with a small furry creature, throwing an object for it to chase. The ruling council decided long ago that some truths were too dangerous. So they made those truths into legends. Then they made those legends into myths. Then they made those myths fade until no one believed them at all. Yuna felt cold. Why? What did humans do that was so terrible? That is the great irony. Borum's voice was bitter. They did nothing terrible. They did something wonderful. And that was their crime. Before he could say more, a shadow moved in the doorway. A figure stepped into the light. He was Caliph like them, but younger, with sharp eyes and a quick smile that seemed to hide secrets. "Well, well," the stranger said. "So the archives do contain the truth after all. I was beginning to think my sources were wrong. Who are you?" Yuna demanded. "My name is Taiho. I trade in information that people do not want shared." He looked at the data core with hunger in his eyes. "And that little device is worth more than this entire station." "You need to leave," Borum said, standing up. "This does not concern you." "Everything concerns me, Elder, especially secrets that the Council has killed to protect." Taiho moved closer, his voice dropping low. "Did you tell her, Old One? Did you tell her where the humans really went?" Yuna looked between them. "What is he talking about?" "The stories say humans went extinct thousands of years ago. The stories are lies." Taiho's smile was gone now. "Humans are not extinct. They never were. They are still alive, billions of them, living and breathing and wondering why the stars never answer when they call." "That is enough," Borum said sharply. "Is it?" "She has the recordings. She has already seen too much. The Council will come for her soon enough." "Would you rather she die ignorant?" Yuna felt the room spinning. "What do you mean, they will come for me?" Taiho pointed at the data core. "That device has been missing for centuries. Very powerful people have been looking for it. The moment you connected it to your reader, you sent a signal to every monitoring system in this sector." He checked the device on his wrist. "I would say you have about 1 hour before security arrives. Maybe less. What do I do?" Yuna asked. "You'd come with me. I have a ship. I have contacts. And I have been trying to expose this truth for my entire life." Taiho held out his hand. "The question is, do you want to know what really happened to the humans? Or do you want to spend the rest of your short life in a council prison?" Yuna looked at Borum. The old Caliph was silent, but his eyes were filled with tears. "Go," he whispered. "Find the truth. Someone must." Yuna took the data core and followed Taiho into the darkness. Behind her, the recordings still played. A human was looking directly at the camera now, smiling. It waved, a simple gesture of greeting. Yuna wondered if any humans still lived who remembered that the galaxy had once known their kind. She wondered if they had any idea that out in the stars they had become nothing but legends. She intended to find out. Taiho's ship was small and fast. It had no name, just a number that he changed every few weeks to avoid detection. For 3 days, they traveled through empty space toward coordinates that Taiho refused to explain. "The boundary wall," he finally said when Yuna asked again. "That is where we are going." Yuna had heard of the boundary wall. It was a military blockade that surrounded an entire star system. The official story said the system was unstable, filled with radiation that would kill anyone who entered. No ships were allowed near it. No questions were allowed about it. "The humans are inside," Taiho said. "Billions of them, living on their original world and a few nearby planets. They have cities and technology. They have built ships that try to leave. And every single ship is destroyed before it can escape." Yuna felt sick. That cannot be true. That would mean the Council has been committing murder for thousands of years. Not murder, containment. Taiho's voice was cold. "They do not see humans as people. They see them as a threat that must be controlled. The humans inside do not even know they are prisoners. They think space is simply too dangerous, that their ships keep failing for natural reasons. Their ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a large station." Taiho explained that supply vessels came here before crossing into the boundary wall, most. carried food and equipment for the military forces that maintained the blockade. "We need to get on one of those supply ships," Taiho said. "I have a contact who can help, but it will cost everything I have saved." The contact was a nervous villain named Don. He was tall and thin, with scales that shifted color based on his emotions. Right now they were pale with fear. "This is madness," Don said. "Captain Jisoo inspects every vessel personally. If she finds you, she will execute you on the spot. Then we will have to be very well hidden," Taiho replied. Dahan's price was high, but he kept his word. Within hours, Yuna and Taiho were sealed inside a cargo container on a supply vessel heading toward the boundary wall. The container was cramped and dark, but Yuna did not complain. She held the data core close and waited. The journey took 2 days. When the container finally opened, they were not in a prison cell. They were in a small room with soft lighting and comfortable chairs, and standing before them was a Velen woman in a captain's uniform. "You must be the ones Dohan warned me about," Captain Jisoo said. Her scales were a calm blue, but her eyes were sharp and dangerous. "He thinks I did not notice his nervousness. He thinks I did not scan every container on this ship. He's wrong on both counts." Yuna prepared to run, but there was nowhere to go. Taiho stepped forward with his hands raised. "Captain, I know how this looks, but we are not spies or criminals. We are seeking the truth about what lies behind the boundary wall. The truth." Jisoo's voice was flat. "Everyone thinks they want the truth. Then they learn it, and they wish they had stayed ignorant. I have already seen recordings of humans," Yuna said. "I know they are real. I know they are alive. I just need to understand why they were hidden." Something changed in Jisoo's expression. The hardness faded, replaced by something that looked almost like pain. "You have recordings?" she asked quietly. Yuna showed her the data core. She played some of the videos. Jisoo watched in silence as humans laughed and cried and lived their ordinary lives. "I was assigned to the boundary wall 12 years ago," Jisoo said when the recordings ended. "I was told we were protecting the galaxy from a dead zone, a region of space too dangerous for anyone to enter. I believed it. I followed orders. Then I saw what was really inside." She turned to face them fully. "I saw cities glowing with light on a blue and green world. I saw ships launching from that world, filled with beings who wanted nothing more than to explore the stars. And I watched those ships get destroyed. Every single time. For 12 years. How do you live with that?" Taiho asked. "I almost did not." Jisoo walked to a cabinet and opened it. Inside was a small bed with blankets and pillows. Lying on the bed, fast asleep, was a creature unlike any Yuna had seen before. It was a human. She was female, with dark hair spread across the pillow and skin the color of warm sand. She looked thin and tired, but she was breathing steadily. "Her name is Myray," Jisoo said. 8 years ago, her research vessel was destroyed like all the others, but her escape pod drifted far from the usual patrol routes. I found her before anyone else did. I should have reported her. Instead, I brought her aboard and hid her." "You saved a human?" Yuna was amazed. I could not watch another one die. Jisoo's scales had turned a deep gray, the color of grief. She was so afraid when she woke up. She did not understand where she was or what I was. But she did not attack me. She did not scream. She just looked at me with those strange small eyes and asked if I was going to hurt her. Myray stirred in her sleep and opened her eyes. They were dark brown and filled with intelligence. She saw the strangers and sat up quickly, looking to Jisoo for guidance. "It is safe," Jisoo said in a different language that Yuna did not recognize. Myray relaxed slightly. She studied Yuna and Taiho with curiosity rather than fear. "She has learned our languages over the years," Jisoo explained. She knows everything now. She knows her people are prisoners. She knows the galaxy thinks her species is just a myth. And she knows that I have been part of the system that keeps her people trapped. Why have you not tried to free them? Taiho demanded. How? I am one captain with one ship. The boundary wall is maintained by thousands of vessels. The council has made sure that no one can break through. All I could do was save one person and try to keep her alive. Myrae spoke, and her voice was soft but steady. I want to go home. I want to tell my family that I am alive. But more than that, I want my people to know the truth. We deserve to know why we are trapped. We deserve to know that we are not alone in the universe. Yuna looked at the data core in her hands. We have the proof. We have recordings that show humans are real. If we can share this with the galaxy, if we can let everyone see what humans really are, the council will destroy you before you get close to a broadcast system, Jisoo said. Then help us, Taiho replied. You know this region. You have access that we do not have. You could get us through. Jisoo was silent for a long moment. Her scales shifted through many colors as she thought. Finally, they settled on a deep, determined red. 12 years, she said. 12 years of watching ships burn. 12 years of nightmares. If there is a chance to end this, I will take it. She extended her hand toward Yuna. Show me everything you have. Let us find a way to make the galaxy remember what it chose to forget. Yuna took her hand. Myrae smiled. The first smile Yuna had ever seen from a living human dot. It was warm and hopeful and very, very human. The galaxy was on fire. Not with weapons, but with questions. On every world, in every language, beings were demanding answers. The recordings of humans had spread beyond any hope of containment. Myrae's message had been watched billions of times, and the files from Counselor Hewan had proven that the council had been lying for 3,000 years. Protests filled the streets of 100 capitals. Leaders who had maintained the secret found themselves facing angry crowds. Some tried to deny the truth, but it was too late. The evidence was everywhere. In the Grand Council chamber, Counselor Helwan stood before her fellow leaders. She had been freed from detention by her own guards, who refused to follow orders from Admiral Genu. Now she was leading the largest political revolution in galactic history. The boundary wall must come down, she declared. Every ship, every weapon, every barrier that keeps humans imprisoned must be removed. This is not a suggestion. This is the demand of a galaxy that will no longer accept lies. Admiral Genu stood alone on the opposite side of the chamber. His allies had abandoned him one by one. Even his own species, the Orth, had turned against him. The truth about the peace of 10,000 years had reminded everyone what humans had done for the galaxy. They had ended a war that no one else could end, and the galaxy had repaid them with imprisonment and erasure. You do not understand, Genu said. His voice was desperate now. Humans are dangerous. Their ability to unite others, to inspire change, it threatens everything we have built. If they rejoin the galaxy, nothing will ever be the same. Good, Hewan replied. Perhaps it is time for things to change. The vote was not close. The council ordered the boundary wall to be dismantled immediately. But Genu was not finished. He fled the chamber and contacted his most loyal officers. If the council would not protect the galaxy from humans, he would do it himself. He ordered a final strike. Every weapon in the boundary wall fleet would fire at once, destroying the human homeworld before anyone could stop him. His officers received the order. They looked at each other. They thought about the recordings they had seen, the human families, the human children, the ordinary lives that were no different from their own. One by one, they refused. No, said a Velen captain who had served for 20 years. I will not murder billions of innocent beings. These are legends, said an Orth weapons officer who had never questioned orders before. But legends do not laugh like that. Legends do not cry like that. These are people, and I will not kill people. Jenna screamed at them. He threatened them with death. But there was no one left to follow his orders. His ship stood silent, weapons powered down. Crews waiting for the new future to begin. The first ships to cross the fallen boundary wall were civilian vessels filled with diplomats, journalists, and ordinary citizens who wanted to witness history. They entered the human star system slowly, broadcasting messages of peace in every language they knew. On Earth, the humans watched in confusion and wonder. Strange ships were approaching their world. Strange voices were calling out to them from space. Myray was on the lead diplomatic vessel. She had insisted on coming, on being the first to bring the news to her people. As her ship entered orbit around Earth, she broadcast a message in Korean, then English, then every other human language she had learned during her years of isolation. My name is Mireille. I am human, like you. I was lost in space 8 years ago, and I was saved by people from other worlds. They are not coming to hurt us. They are coming to apologize. We are not alone in the universe. We never were. And they have come to welcome us home. The response from Earth was slow at first. Fear and disbelief were strong. But Myray kept talking, kept explaining, kept showing the recordings of alien families that were just as loving as human ones. Slowly, carefully, trust began to form. The first human to meet the alien diplomats was a young boy named Sunwoo. He was 12 years old and had sneaked away from the official meeting to explore the alien ship on his own. When Yuna found him hiding behind a storage container, he was not afraid. He was curious. Are you really from another world? He asked in simple Korean that Yuna's translator converted perfectly. Yes, Yuna said, kneeling down to meet his eyes. I am from very far away. But I came here because I wanted to meet your people. Why? Yuna thought about everything she had seen. The recordings, the lies, Jisu's sacrifice, Murray's tears. 3,000 years of forgotten history. Because we forgot you were real, she said. We told ourselves you were just stories. We forgot that stories come from somewhere. We forgot that legends are just people who did something worth remembering. She smiled at him, hoping he could see the warmth in her expression despite her alien features. We will not forget again. Sunwoo thought about this for a moment. Then he smiled too, bright and wide and full of the hope that only children can feel so purely. Can I see the stars? He asked. The real stars from out there? I always wanted to know what they looked like up close. Yuna stood and offered him her hand. Come with me. I will show you everything. She led him to a window that looked out at the galaxy. Billions of stars burned in the darkness, each one a sun with its own worlds, its own people, its own stories waiting to be discovered. That is all ours now, Sunwoo whispered. All of that is ours. Not just ours, Yuna corrected gently. Everyone's. That is what your ancestors understood 3,000 years ago. The stars belong to everyone who is willing to share them. Behind them, Mireille was reuniting with her family. Her mother held her so tightly that neither of them could speak. Her father stood behind them, tears streaming down his face, one hand on his daughter's shoulder, as if afraid she might disappear again. Yuna recorded the moment for the new archives. This time, the truth would be preserved. This time, no one would be erased. The galaxy had believed that humans were legends, monsters and gods and impossible stories from a forgotten age. Now they knew the truth. Humans were just people. Ordinary, fragile, short-lived people who had somehow learned to turn enemies into friends. And that, Yuna realized, was more powerful than any legend could ever be. The Grand Council chamber was the most powerful room in the galaxy. Here, Representatives from 100 species made decisions that affected trillions of lives. Here, wars were started and ended. Here, the fate of entire worlds was decided with a single vote. Councillor Halon had served in this chamber for 30 years. She was Kelith, like Yuna and Elder Borm, but her gray skin was marked with the patterns of high status. She had earned her position through decades of careful work, building alliances and fighting for reforms that most considered impossible. But nothing had prepared her for what she saw on her private screen tonight. The message had come through hidden channels, encrypted with codes that even the Council's best systems could not break. It contained video files, audio recordings, and documents that made Hewan's blood run cold. Humans, real, living humans, and proof that they were being held prisoner behind the boundary wall. The message was from someone named Yuna, a young archivist who had somehow discovered the truth. She was asking for help. She was asking Hewan to use her authority to access the classified files that would prove the conspiracy. Hewan knew she should report this immediately. Such information was dangerous. Anyone associated with it would be marked for death. But she had always suspected something was wrong with the official story. The boundary wall consumed enormous resources. The military presence there was far larger than any dead zone would require. And whenever she had asked questions, she was met with silence and warnings. She made her decision using her highest clearance codes. Hewan accessed the restricted historical archives. What she found made her feel like the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. The files went back 3,000 years. They told a story that the Council had worked very hard to erase. Humans had not always been prisoners. Once they had been members of the galactic community. They had arrived as newcomers, a young species that had just discovered faster than light travel. They were weaker than most species, shorter-lived, technologically behind. Many had looked down on them as primitive, but humans had a gift that no one expected. 3 great empires had been at war for 10,000 years when humans arrived. The Velen Dominion, the Kelith Federation, and the Orth Collective had been fighting for so long that no one remembered how to stop. Billions had died. Entire star systems had been destroyed. And still the war continued, because no one knew how to end it. Humans changed everything. They were not stronger than the empires. They were not smarter. They had no great weapons or secret technologies. But they had something else. They had the ability to listen. They had the patience to understand all sides. They had the stubborn belief that enemies could become friends if someone was willing to try hard enough. Human diplomats spent 50 years talking to all 3 empires. They traveled to war zones and refused to leave. They were killed again and again, but more humans always came to take their places. They learned every language, studied every culture, and found the common ground that no one else could see. And somehow, impossibly, they ended the war. The peace of 10,000 years, it was called. The greatest diplomatic achievement in galactic history. Humans had done what no other species could do. They had united enemies who had fought for longer than most. Civilizations had existed. Hewan read the records with tears in her eyes. This was not the story of monsters or demons. This was the story of heroes. So why had they been erased? The answer came in the final files. The old powers had grown afraid. If humans could end wars, they could start them too. If humans could unite enemies, they could divide allies. If humans could change the galaxy once, they could change it again. And the powerful did not want change. They wanted to keep their power exactly as it was. A secret meeting was held. Representatives from all 3 former empires agreed on one thing. Humans were too dangerous to remain free, not because of what they had done, but because of what they could do. They could inspire other species. They could challenge the established order. They could make the galaxy believe that things could be different. so the council decided to contain them. The operation took decades. Slowly, humans were pushed back toward their home system. Their colonies were quietly closed. Their people were relocated. And then the boundary wall was built, sealing them inside forever. The final step was erasing history. All records of human achievements were destroyed or hidden. The peace of 10,000 years was credited to anonymous diplomats. Human images were removed from archives. And then the propaganda began, transforming humans from heroes into monsters. Stories were spread about their death world origins, their terrifying endurance, their ability to bond with predators. Within a few generations, humans became myths. Within a few more generations, they became legends. And finally, they became nothing but fairy tales that no one believed. HFY closed the files and sat in darkness. She thought about the billions of humans trapped behind the boundary wall, living their lives without knowing that an entire galaxy had forgotten them. She thought about the council members who maintained this lie, generation after generation. She thought about herself, serving on a council that was built on the greatest crime in history. Her communication device beeped. A message from Yuna asked if she had found anything. HFY began typing her response when her door exploded inward. Admiral Janu stood in the doorway with armed soldiers behind him. He was Arth, massive and covered in thick scales, with eyes that showed no emotion at all. "Counselor HFY," he said, "you have accessed restricted files without authorization. You are under arrest for conspiracy against the Galactic Council." "The galaxy deserves to know the truth," HFY said. She did not try to run. There was nowhere to go. The galaxy deserves to be protected from dangerous ideas. Jenu gestured to his soldiers. "Take her to detention and find whoever sent her those original files. I want them all dead before this spreads any further." As the soldiers dragged her away, HFY managed to hit one last button on her device. Her response to Yuna sent, carrying everything she had learned. She hoped it would be enough. She hoped that somewhere, someone would receive the truth and find a way to share it. The lie had lasted 3,000 years. It was time for it to end. The message from Counselor HFY arrived just as Admiral Jenu's ships appeared on their sensors. Yuna read the files quickly, her hands shaking. The truth was worse than she had imagined. Humans had not been imprisoned because they were dangerous. They had been imprisoned because they were too good at bringing peace. The powerful had feared them not for their strength, but for their kindness. "We need to move now," Jisoo said from the pilot's seat. 3 warships just dropped out of faster than light. They are heading directly for us. Taiho was already working at his communication station. "I have contacts across 12 systems. If I can upload even a fragment of these files to the open networks, it will spread before the council can stop it." "Do it," Yuna said. "Send everything?" The ship shook as Jisoo pushed the engines to their limit. Through the windows, Yuna could see the massive warships growing closer. They were Arth vessels, the same species as Admiral Jenu, built for speed and destruction. Myre sat beside Yuna, watching everything with calm focus. She had spent 8 years hidden on this ship, learning about the galaxy that had forgotten her people. Now she was watching that galaxy try to keep them forgotten. "Upload starting," Taiho said. "I am sending the human recordings first. Images of families, celebrations, daily life. Nothing threatening. Just proof that humans are real and ordinary." The first warship fired. Jiju rolled the ship hard to the left, and the weapon's blast passed close enough to shake the hull. "We cannot outrun them forever," Jisoo said. "1 ship against 3 is not a battle we can win. We just need time," Taiho replied. His fingers flew across the controls. "The files are spreading. I can see them hitting the first networks now. People are downloading them, sharing them. The truth is getting out. Another blast hit their shields. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit. Jisoo cursed and dove toward a nearby asteroid field. Trying to use the rocks for cover. I watched the communication screens. Taiho was right. The files were spreading faster than anyone could stop them. On a dozen different worlds, beings were watching the same recording she had first seen in the archives. Humans laughing. Humans crying. Humans holding their children and caring for their sick and burying their dead. Comments flooded the networks. Confusion, disbelief, and then, slowly, anger. "These cannot be real," someone wrote. "Humans are just stories. My grandfather used to tell tales about humans," another replied. He said his grandfather believed they were real. Now I wonder if he was right. Why would the council lie about this? What are they hiding? Mireille touched Yuna's arm. "I want to speak to them," she said. "I want them to hear a human voice." Yuna looked at Jisoo. The captain nodded grimly. "Open a broadcast channel. Wide beam, all frequencies. If we are going to die out here, let us make sure the galaxy hears us first." Myra moved to the communication station. Taiho made room for her and set up the broadcast. The warships were still firing, still chasing, but Jisoo was buying them seconds with every desperate maneuver. Mireille took a deep breath and began to speak. "My name is Mireille. I am human. I was born on a world called Earth, in a city called Seoul, in a country called Korea. I was a scientist who studied stars. 8 years ago, my ship was destroyed when I tried to leave my home system. I did not know why. I thought it was an accident. Now I know the truth." Her voice was steady, but Yuna could see tears forming in her eyes. "My people do not know that we are prisoners. We have been trapped behind something we cannot see, killed every time we try to reach the stars, and we never knew why. We thought we were alone in the universe. We thought no one was out there. But you were out there, all of you, and you knew about us. You forgot us on purpose." The ship shook again. More warning lights. Jisoo shouted that the shields were failing. "I am not angry," Mireille continued. "I do not blame you. Most of you did not know. The lie was told so long ago that even the liars have forgotten they are lying. But now, you know, now you have seen our faces. We are not monsters. We are not gods. We are just people. We have families who miss us when we are gone. We have dreams that we want to follow. We are afraid of dying, but we are more afraid of being forgotten." Taiho looked up from his screen. "The broadcast is reaching billions. Every major network is carrying it. I have never seen anything spread this fast." "Please," Mireille said, and now the tears were falling freely. "Do not forget us again. Do not let them keep us trapped forever. We just want to know the stars. We just want to know we are not alone." She stopped speaking. The cockpit was silent, except for the sound of alarms. Then Jisoo spoke quietly. "They are going to destroy us. I cannot dodge forever, but I can give you time to escape. There is an emergency pod in the lower level. It is too small for them to notice if I am keeping them busy." "No," Yuna said. "We will not leave you. You have to. The truth is out there now, but someone needs to keep fighting for it. Someone needs to be there when the council falls." Jisoo turned to look at them, and her scales were a calm, peaceful blue. "I have spent 12 years helping keep humans imprisoned. Let me spend my last moments helping to set them free." There was no time to argue. Taiho grabbed Yuna's arm and pulled her toward the lower level. Mireille hesitated, looking at Jisoo with eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you," Mireille said, "for saving me, for believing I was worth saving." "Thank you," Jisoo replied, "for showing me that I could still do something good." The emergency pod launched just as the warships finally broke through the shields. Yuna watched through a tiny window as Jisoo's ship turned toward the largest warship and, accelerated. There was a flash of light. Then nothing. Yuna closed her eyes and tried to breathe. Beside her, Mireille was sobbing quietly. Taiho was already working on the pod's navigation, trying to plot a course toward the nearest broadcast station. "She bought us time," Taiho said. "Let us not waste it." Through the darkness of space, the truth continued to spread. And somewhere behind the boundary wall, billions of humans still waited, not knowing that the galaxy was finally beginning to remember them.